Noam Chomsky, a renowned intellectual, has consistently challenged conventional narratives with his incisive analysis of power, politics, and media. Born in Philadelphia in 1928, Chomsky's contributions to linguistics, cognitive science, and political activism have earned him global recognition. He's authored over 150 books and countless articles, fearlessly critiquing state power, propaganda, and social injustices. Chomsky's work is characterized by its rigorous scholarship, meticulous documentation, and unwavering commitment to truth-seeking. He encourages critical thinking, urging individuals to question dominant narratives and challenge established power structures. Chomsky's influence extends far beyond academia. His writings have inspired generations of activists, scholars, and engaged citizens worldwide. He has received numerous awards and honorary doctorates, a testament to his profound impact on contemporary thought. In Pirates and Emperors, Old and New International Terrorism in the Real World, Chomsky delves into the complexities of international terrorism, dissecting the often obscured realities behind this global phenomenon. Chomsky's analysis in Pirates and Emperors is as relevant today as it was upon its initial publication. With the rise of new forms of terrorism and the ever-evolving geopolitical landscape, Chomsky's insights provide a crucial lens through which to understand the complexities of our world. His work encourages us to look beyond simplistic explanations and confront the uncomfortable truths that shape global events. Pirates and Emperors challenges the dominant narrative surrounding international terrorism, exposing the hypocrisy and double standards often employed by powerful states. Chomsky argues that terrorism is a tactic used by both state and non-state actors. He encourages examining the root causes of violence, including poverty and political oppression. Chomsky's central argument revolves around the distinction between pirates and emperors. Pirates are non-state actors targeting civilians, while emperors are powerful states using violence with impunity. He contends that powerful states define terrorism to suit their interests, overlooking their own violence. Chomsky provides historical examples to highlight inconsistencies in defining terrorism. He challenges readers to consider that states fighting terrorism may be perpetrators of state-sponsored terrorism. Chomsky's analysis encourages a critical reassessment of the war on terror and its motivations. He argues that this war often serves as a pretext for expanding state power and curtailing civil liberties. He highlights the dangers of accepting official narratives, urging readers to question the true costs of conflicts. Pirates and Emperors is not simply a critique of state power, it is also a call to action. Chomsky encourages readers to engage in critical thinking, challenge dominant narratives, and hold those in power accountable for their actions. He reminds us that we have a responsibility to speak out against injustice, demand transparency from our leaders, and advocate for a more just and equitable world. Chomsky's work is particularly relevant in today's world, where information is often weaponized and propaganda is rampant. He provides readers with the tools to critically assess the information they encounter, identify bias and manipulation, and form their own informed opinions. By questioning the narratives presented by those in power, we can begin to dismantle the structures that perpetuate injustice and inequality. Pirates and Emperors is a powerful reminder that we are not powerless in the face of global challenges. By understanding the complexities of international terrorism, questioning dominant narratives, and engaging in informed activism, we can work towards a more just and peaceful world. Chomsky's book is a call to action, urging us to become informed citizens and active participants in shaping a better future. In Pirates and Emperors, Noam Chomsky critically examines international terrorism, its definition and root causes. He argues that terrorism is often politically manipulated and selectively interpreted. Chomsky posits terrorism as a tactic for political objectives through violence. He challenges the narrative limiting terrorism to non-state actors. This serves powerful states, deflecting from their own violence. States have historically engaged in large-scale terror, often unacknowledged. This reveals a fundamental hypocrisy in international relations. Defining terrorism by the perpetrator, not the act, is dishonest. Targeting civilians by state or non-state actors is terrorism. Suffering of innocents is unjustifiable, regardless of the attacker. Both pirates and emperors can engage in terrorism. Chomsky urges examining the broader context and motivations behind violence. Section 2. Unveiling the double standard. Central to Chomsky's analysis is the exposure of the double standard that permeates discussions of terrorism. He argues that powerful states, particularly the United States, often apply a different set of rules to themselves when it comes to defining and responding to acts of violence. This double standard, Chomsky posits, is not merely a matter of hypocrisy. It is a deliberate strategy employed to maintain power and advance geopolitical interests. Chomsky meticulously documents instances where the United States has supported or even directly engaged in acts of terrorism when it has suited its strategic objectives. He cites examples of US support for right-wing dictatorships, involvement in coups d'état, and the funding and training of paramilitary groups known to have committed atrocities. These actions, Chomsky argues, are rarely acknowledged as terrorism by the US government or its allies, despite meeting the very definition they apply to their adversaries. This double standard, Chomsky argues, has far-reaching consequences. It undermines the legitimacy of international law and institutions, creating a system where the powerful can act with impunity while the weak are held to a different standard. This, in turn, fuels resentment and instability, creating fertile ground for further violence and conflict. He further argues that this double standard is not only morally reprehensible, but also strategically counterproductive. By refusing to acknowledge its own acts of violence, the United States undermines its credibility on the world stage and fuels anti-American sentiment, ultimately making it more difficult to address the root causes of terrorism. Section 3. The illusion of morality. Chomsky challenges the notion that powerful states are inherently more moral or legitimate in their use of violence. He argues that claims of moral superiority mask self-interest and legitimize oppression. States use morality to disguise their pursuit of power and resources. History shows states committing atrocities in the name of national security and economic interests. Section 1. The case of Nicaragua. Chomsky, in Pirates and Emperors, highlights US involvement in Nicaragua during the 1980s, exposing double standards and state-sponsored terrorism. The Reagan administration supported the Contras, a paramilitary group responsible for widespread human rights abuses. Despite their atrocities, the Contras were portrayed as freedom fighters. Chomsky argues this manipulation of language garnered public support for US intervention. Section 2. Unmasking imperial intervention. Chomsky argues that US actions in Nicaragua were driven by economic and geopolitical interests aiming to undermine the Sandinista government. The US, fearing the spread of communism, adopted a policy of containment, supporting the Contras to destabilize Nicaragua. This intervention, Chomsky argues, is part of a broader pattern of US imperialism with devastating consequences for many countries. The case of Nicaragua highlights the human cost of imperial ambition and the hypocrisy of powerful states. Section 3. The spectacle of selective outrage. Chomsky highlights the selective outrage of powerful states, condemning terrorism by enemies while ignoring or supporting similar acts by allies. The Reagan administration downplayed Contra atrocities in Nicaragua, framing them as freedom fighters to justify intervention. This double standard undermines human rights and erodes the legitimacy of international law. Section 4. The Ghosts of History. Chomsky's analysis of US involvement in Nicaragua extends beyond the Cold War, linking it to a history of US imperialism. He argues these actions were part of a long history of intervention with devastating consequences for the region. Driven by economic and geopolitical interests, the US asserted dominance over Central America. Supporting coups and dictatorships, the US sought to maintain its hegemony. This left a legacy of poverty and instability. Section 5. The manufacture of consent. Chomsky critiques the media's role in shaping public opinion and legitimizing state power. He argues that the media manufactures consent for government policies, even those that are morally reprehensible. In Nicaragua, the media adopted the Reagan administration's framing, obscuring the Contras' brutality. This stifled critical discussion of US foreign policy. Chomsky argues this poses a serious threat to democracy. Section 1. Pirates challenging the Leviathan. In Pirates and Emperors, Noam Chomsky contrasts pirates and emperors in international terrorism. Pirates are non-state actors using terror for political aims. They operate on the fringes, lacking resources and power. Chomsky argues their actions stem from power imbalances and historical grievances. Many resort to terrorism out of desperation against oppression. Marginalized groups see terrorism as a last resort. Chomsky acknowledges the brutality but urges understanding root causes. Root causes include poverty, inequality, and political oppression. Ignoring these conditions risks perpetuating terrorism. Addressing root causes can lead to a more just world. Chomsky seeks to understand motivations behind violence. A nuanced understanding is essential for effective strategies. Section 2. The tools of the emperors. Chomsky uses the term emperors to represent powerful states, particularly the United States, that employ violence and coercion on a much larger scale. He argues that while both pirates and emperors can be classified as terrorists, the emperor's capacity for violence dwarfs that of the pirates. Emperors have a vast arsenal of tools for projecting power, including military intervention, economic sanctions, and covert operations. These tools are often used to advance imperial interests, even when they result in significant human suffering. One key tool is the manipulation of language and narrative. Powerful states use their control over media to shape public perception and legitimize their actions. This manipulation allows them to present themselves as defenders of freedom, even while engaging in acts of aggression. Section 3. Unveiling the masks of power. Chomsky argues that emperors often hide their true motives behind a veil of humanitarian rhetoric, claiming to act in the name of spreading democracy, protecting human rights, or combating terrorism. He contends that these claims are often disingenuous, serving as a smokescreen for the pursuit of strategic interests, economic gain, or the maintenance of global hegemony. Chomsky meticulously documents numerous instances where powerful states have intervened militarily in other countries, ostensibly to promote democracy or protect human rights, but where the real motives were far more cynical. He argues that these interventions have often resulted in the opposite of their stated aims, leading to instability, human rights abuses, and the strengthening of authoritarian regimes. Chomsky further argues that the emperor's commitment to human rights is often selective and self-serving. He points to instances where powerful states have turned a blind eye to human rights, to abuses committed by their allies, or even supported repressive regimes when it has suited their strategic interests. This hypocrisy, Chomsky argues, undermines the legitimacy of human rights discourse and exposes the double standards that underpin much of international relations. Chomsky's analysis seeks to unmask the emperors, to expose the gap between their rhetoric and their actions, and to challenge the narratives they construct to legitimize their power. He argues that by understanding the true nature of imperial power, we can begin to hold emperors accountable for their actions and create a more just and equitable world. Section 4. The illusion of legitimacy. Chomsky challenges the notion of legitimacy in the international system. He argues powerful states manipulate international institutions to serve their interests. The UN Security Council's veto power exemplifies this manipulation. Chomsky argues this undermines the UN's legitimacy. He criticizes the selective application of international law. Understanding this can help create a more just world order. Section 5. The price of empire. Chomsky argues that the pursuit of empire comes at a steep price, not only for those who are subjected to imperial domination, but also for the citizens of the imperial power itself. He argues that the costs of empire are both moral and material, eroding democratic values, distorting economic priorities, and ultimately undermining the very foundations of a just and sustainable society. One of the key costs of empire, Chomsky argues, is the erosion of democratic values. He argues that the pursuit of empire requires secrecy, deception, and the suppression of dissent, all of which are antithetical to democratic principles. He points to the growth of the surveillance state, the increasing militarization of society, and the erosion of civil liberties as evidence of the corrosive effects of empire on democracy. Chomsky also argues that the pursuit of empire distorts economic priorities, diverting resources away from social programs, education and infrastructure, and towards military spending and imperial adventures. He argues that this militarization of the economy has contributed to growing inequality, declining living standards for many, and a sense of disillusionment and despair among those who feel left behind. Furthermore, Chomsky argues that the pursuit of empire damages the moral standing of the imperial power, making it complicit in the crimes committed in its name and undermining its ability to promote its values and interests on the world stage. In the updated edition of Pirates and Emperors, Chomsky revisits his analysis of the War on Terror. He argues that it has failed to achieve its objectives and exacerbated many problems. Chomsky claims it serves as a pretext for expanding US military power and eroding civil liberties. He points to invasions, drone strikes, and surveillance programs. The War on Terror has been counterproductive, creating more terrorists. Chomsky argues it has destabilized regions and fueled anti-American sentiment. The use of torture and extrajudicial killings has alienated local populations. Resources diverted to the War on Terror could address poverty and climate change. Chomsky's analysis is a reminder of the dangers of militarized solutions. Chomsky highlights the ethical and legal implications of drone warfare, emphasizing the lack of transparency and accountability. He argues that drone strikes often result in significant civilian casualties and fuel resentment. The program's secrecy raises serious questions about the rule of law and the nature of warfare. Chomsky warns of a dangerous disconnect between killing and its human consequences. He criticizes the Obama administration's expansion of the drone program. Independent investigations have documented significant civilian casualties. The lack of transparency makes it difficult to hold those responsible accountable. The drone program has created a climate of fear and terror in targeted regions. This constant threat undermines trust and fuels paranoia. Chomsky warns about the dangers of new warfare technologies and the need for ethical constraints. In the updated edition of Pirates and Emperors, Chomsky revisits his influential propaganda model, exploring the evolving media landscape in the Internet age. He argues that while the Internet offers new opportunities for independent journalism, it also poses challenges in discerning truth from falsehood. The proliferation of information sources has made it easier for propaganda and misinformation to spread. Chomsky remains cautiously optimistic about the Internet's potential to empower citizens and hold power to account. He urges citizens to be critical consumers of information and engage in active citizenship. Chomsky's analysis is a timely reminder of the importance of media literacy and critical thinking in the digital age. Section 4. The Empire's long shadow: climate change, resource wars, and the future of humanity. In Pirates and Emperors, Chomsky addresses climate change and its implications for humanity. He argues climate change poses a greater threat than terrorism, yet receives less attention. Short-term economic gain blinds powerful states to long-term consequences. Reliance on fossil fuels and deforestation push the planet towards a tipping point. Chomsky urges for a radical transformation based on cooperation and sustainability. The future of humanity depends on transcending narrow self-interest and imperial ambitions. Section 1. Echoes of Dissent. Pirates and Emperors, Old and New stands as a potent critique of power, challenging readers to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of international terrorism and the hypocrisy that often underpins its discourse. Chomsky's analysis, meticulously researched and passionately argued, dismantles the simplistic narratives often presented by those in power, urging us to look beyond the surface and grapple with the complex realities that shape global events. His central argument, revolving around the distinction between pirates and emperors, exposes the double standards employed by powerful states who often define terrorism in a way that suits their own interests, conveniently overlooking their own acts of violence and oppression. Chomsky's work is a testament to the power of critical thinking, the importance of challenging dominant narratives, and the need to hold those in power accountable for their actions. Chomsky's analysis is particularly resonant in today's world, where information is increasingly weaponized and manipulated to serve political agendas. He equips readers with the tools to critically assess the information they encounter, to identify bias and distortion, and to form their own informed opinions. By encouraging us to question the narratives presented by those in power, Chomsky empowers us to challenge the structures that perpetuate injustice and inequality. His work is a call to action, urging us to become informed citizens, to engage in meaningful dialogue, and to work towards a more just and equitable world. Section 2. A call to action, navigating the labyrinth. Chomsky does not simply present a bleak picture of a world marred by violence, hypocrisy, and the abuse of power. His work is imbued with a sense of urgency, a call to action that resonates deeply with those who seek a more just and peaceful world. He reminds us that we are not powerless in the face of these challenges, that we have a responsibility to speak out against injustice, to demand transparency from our leaders, and to advocate for a more humane and equitable global order. He encourages us to become active participants in shaping a better future, to challenge the status quo, to question authority, and to demand better from those who claim to represent us. This call to action is not a naive plea for utopia. It is a recognition that change is possible, that the arc of history can be bent towards justice, but only through the sustained efforts of informed and engaged citizens. Chomsky's work encourages us to move beyond the echo chambers of our own beliefs, to engage with diverse perspectives, and to embrace the complexities of the world around us. It is a call to move beyond the comfort of apathy and indifference, to embrace the discomfort of dissent and the challenges of active citizenship. Section 3, Towards a Just Horizon, Pirates and Emperors, Old and New, is a timeless work, its relevance only amplified by the passage of time. As new forms of terrorism emerge and the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, Chomsky's insights provide a crucial lens through which to understand the complexities of our world. His work is a stark reminder that the pursuit of peace and justice is an ongoing struggle, one that requires constant vigilance, unwavering commitment, and a willingness to challenge the structures of power that perpetuate violence and inequality. Chomsky's legacy lies not only in his incisive critiques of power, but also in his unwavering belief in the human capacity for empathy, reason, and collective action. His work is a testament to the power of ideas to inspire, to challenge, and to illuminate a path towards a more just and humane world.